out there okay? Awesome. By the way, the bulldog is an awesome mascot. Not so much the anteater, I guess. I mean, an anteater is intimidating if you're an ant, I suppose. I did find out, by the way, that any anteater worth its salt can consume 30,000 insects in a day. So if you're an ant and you see one of those guys coming down the road, you're going to want to get out of the way. I also was kind of curious about, it's a weird mascot, but it can't be the weirdest, right? There's got to be another weirder one out there. So I Googled it. That's our source of wisdom and inspiration these days. There's a place called Football Babble, and they do have a top 10 list of the weirdest mascots. Anteaters made the list. Go Anteaters. I thought I'd share a couple of them with you because you may want to use this later to win a bar bet or something like that. If you're in Scottsdale Community College, you're a proud member of the Flying Artichokes, which is awesome, yeah. If you're down south at Delta State University in Cleveland, Mississippi, your team is the Fighting Okras. Slippery and dangerous, for sure. Now, this is a weird one. If you're not from the Northwest, you may not appreciate, but the Evergreen State College in Olympia, Washington, and I know Jason is probably familiar with these guys, they are the Fighting Gooey Duck Clams. Has anybody ever seen a gooey duck clam? Show of hands. Oh man, you just got to Google it. That's all I can say. It's a frightening thing. And then the last one I'm going to share with you right now is Dartmouth College. Keggy the Keg is their unofficial but official mascot. I think it was inspired by the fraternity that probably inspired Animal House. That's my guess. That's my guess. I'm really grateful to be here, by the way. I appreciate the opportunity. There's been a really great lineup of people all day long. Everybody's had a wonderful perspective. It's been a really nice mix, and so I do appreciate being a part of this. I was thinking of one of my favorite philosophers is Marx. Groucho Marx, of course, who said that I wouldn't belong to any club that would have me as a member. I'm going to make an exception. I'm glad to be here, so thanks a lot for that. Let's see. Show of hands, how many people made New Year's resolutions for their personal lives this year? Okay, pretty good, about 20% I'd say. What about your businesses? Have you made resolutions about things you're going to change in your businesses today? Yeah, a little bit bigger group. I guess we're a little more focused on business. So the bad news is 8% of the people that make New Year's resolutions actually achieve those resolutions. The good news is that I'll give you some of the secrets as to how people actually get them done, and I'm going to share that later, along with one other piece, and that is what was number one on the list of the strangest mascots. So you got 2 reasons to hang around before cocktails, and 2 things to take away for sure, so I'm already halfway done by now. Let's see. I want to talk about the labor shortage. For every great business opportunity, there's a problem, because if you're solving a problem for your customer, like we've been talking about all day long, you differentiate yourself and you create a business opportunity that's something of value to your customer. Then you do some other great things for yourself too. So I want to talk about the labor shortage in particular because in today's market, it's a big deal. Everybody knows that, but I thought what I would do is share some facts about that may help you understand how meaningful it is to your customer, and also give you some things to talk to them about in ways to solve that. So let me share, there was a survey done of home builders by NHB and Wells Fargo early last year, and in this survey they asked builders what their top concerns were. And the first one on the list is building material prices. You can imagine that'd be right there. Everybody's price is always first, right? Right behind that was cost and availability of labor, so you can see that showed up second on their list. Cost and availability of developed lots. Obviously there's a limitation to what they can get out there, and if they can't get a lot, they can't build a house. Health insurance, which we're all concerned about. Other building code requirements that are new coming up, along with energy efficiency. And then general liability insurance on their job sites, especially in workers' compensation. So that's the top 8, and kind of what you notice right away is that there are a couple of those that you, as a building supply guy, can't really do anything about, right? I mean, you probably can't help them with developed lots, and you probably can't help them with their health insurance too much. But there are a few that emerge that I think are opportunities for us to think about on the supply side. If you look at the ones I've highlighted here, you can see that they're related either to materials and materials control, or they're related to labor reduction on the job site. There are products and services that you guys bring to your customers that can help them in 5 of the top areas that they're concerned about for this year. And I highlighted these 3 because these 3 are related to labor, and so they're related to the concern that's right at the top of their list. I want to dive down a little bit into that so you can see how meaningful it is to the builder in some real terms. 46% of the members of NHB in this survey said that they have fallen behind the schedule on finishing their projects. 15% of them have turned down work, and 9% of them said they lost or canceled their sales because they can't find enough workers to get the job done. So you can see this is not just an annoyance for them. This is a limitation on their ability to grow their business in a market in which people want to buy houses again. This is a big deal. If you drill down a little bit more, what you'll see is that we're talking about a lot of different kinds of labor, but if at the top of the list on the left, if you can see it from the back, framing crews and rough carpenters are number 1 and 2 on the list. So this is the place that really constrains them. If they can't get the framing up, they can't do anything else on the house either. The other thing to notice is if you look on the list on the right, you look at some more details about how this impacts their business. Over 50% said this either caused them to pay higher wages for their subcontractors, or it caused them to have to raise their home prices to cover the costs. About 30% of them said it caused them to find laborers and subcontractors that are out of their geography, or they had difficulty in completing their projects on time. And then it affected them in terms of their profitability, made them unprofitable on some jobs, caused them to turn down projects, caused them to not be able to accept incoming orders, or to lose or cancel sales. I mean, if you had something in your business that was causing you that kind of a difficulty, you would be in dire need of finding a solution for it, because this is what's constraining their business from moving forward. So that's why I want to talk about it, and I want to talk about a few options that sort of come up as you think about what can I do as a supplier to that. And we're talking here specifically about structural framing. I've zeroed in on that one because it's my favorite area, but also because it's kind of a nuts and bolts application of a lot of the issues that we've been talking about today. A lot of the opportunities we talk about is finding a need, solving that need, differentiating yourself by that, and then making some money at it. So this is a practical application that really kind of applies to a lot of those principles. So one intuitive way that people think about this is to solve this problem for my customer, I'm going to do installed sales. A lot of people are doing that. A lot of people are trying to do that. And it's a great business opportunity, but it's not without challenges, because if you think about it, if they can't find framers and you take on that responsibility, what can't you find? Framers. So you got a challenge that you're taking on, and it's not a simple deal. For those of you who have been in installed sales, you know that there are an awful lot of variables that are not under your control, and it's a tough proposition. So that's one approach. It's a legitimate one, but it's got some challenges. The second one is using technology that's available today. We've heard from the 26-year-old in Texas and talking about the technology that he put to work. And this is a great solution, by the way. I'll talk a little bit more about that technology because it's really a much better thing than it used to be. But what this just means is that your team is going to use this technology to determine exactly what goes into that house. And then you got to make sure that your customer on the other side understands how that's being used and follows the same set of rules. So there's some compatibility issues that are going to be a challenge in getting that done. It's a great technology and it's part of the solution, but it's not the whole solution. The third one I think is really the best of the bunch because it brings a lot of this stuff together. Prefabricated components, and I'm talking here about roof and floor trusses, wall panels, and Jason mentioned some other subcomponents, things like insulated headers and other prefabricated components that go out to the job site. Obviously what those things do is they take labor off the job site so that your builder can get your house up faster. They do a lot of things too, and I want to talk about that, but I think that what prefabricated components can bring to your business is a solution that is available today. It's already been proven. It works better than it used to for a lot of reasons that I'll talk about. Let me just see a show of hands. How many people here are providing framing packages to their customers in their business? All right. And of those people, how many people are today providing prefabricated components as a part of that? Yeah, so almost the same set of people, right? What that says is that this is not a new solution. It's not vaporware. It's not something that was developed by, kids in a garage 3 years ago. This is a proven technology, but there's some things that are new and different about it that I think are worth pointing out and why it's a valuable thing to bring to your customers in a bigger way. In a word, the thing that's new about prefab is the technology under the hood. The software that's being used right now, which is this BIM technology, Building Information Modeling technology, this software is a generation ahead of what was available before the housing bust. That's a really important thing to remember. I mean, I'll go back a little bit and just say that, 20 years ago or 30 years ago, people were designing a truss one at a time by sending a sketch in to an engineer and having him figure it out for them. Today, this is a high-performance software that does lots of things, including address the code compliance issues. It makes sure that there are no clashes or gaps in the structure. It solves for that structure to a buildable state down to a 1/16 of an inch and includes every single framing member, every connector, and every fastener that goes into it. It's a big deal. That's a big difference. Secondly, the equipment that's used today to manufacture these is automated equipment. I was thinking about Henry Ford and the automobile, and what Henry Ford brought to the industry was an automated way to deliver that. He didn't invent the car, as we learned. He automated it. And if you watch, shows like How Is It Made, what you see is that the breakthroughs in any industry happen when automation gets involved. When you take labor out at some place in a big way and you can generate components or products at a higher rate of speed for less labor and a lot more accuracy. Between the software that's been developed and the automation equipment that's out there, the capability of prefabrication today is way bigger than it used to be. And the last piece I think is important because it helps to kind of establish the legitimacy of this. Integrated or the component manufacturing process that's going on right now is a part of the large guys. I mean, we have in this room a great representation of some large, well-established companies across the United States that are using this in their business in a very meaningful way. It's established with quality assurance standards. It's established with safety standards. It's done in a very controlled environment. It's not the same as it was 30 years ago when, the truss manufacturer was a small guy at the edge of town with a steel roof building and 30 guys and they, pounded trusses out. It's a different deal. It's a precision manufactured product. So I think it's important to acknowledge the big changes that have taken place recently and why this is a better offering than it ever has been. One of the issues we're talking about, obviously, is labor, so let me get down to that. The question is, so how much labor does it actually take off of a job site? And there was a side-by-side study done by Wood Truss Council and by the Building Systems Council of NHB. And what they did was they built a 2,600 square foot house, one right next to another, one stick frame methods, and one using prefabrication. The prefabrication was basically what I described, roof trusses, floor trusses, and wall panels. The difference in labor on that job site was 253 hours. So if you think about that from a builder's perspective, if it takes him, in this example, 401 hours to build that house with labor using stick techniques, and he can do it with 148 hours, that's a significant reduction in his need for labor. So now if you've taken that constraint out of his production, his ability to produce more houses in an environment with higher demand is a big one. And if you just do the math and say, well, at $20 an hour, 253 hours turns out to be $5,000, that's a big difference to his bottom line and yours if you figure out how to do that pricing mechanism right. But there are some other benefits that go with this too, and I don't want to fail to do that. There were two other issues in the top 8 that they identified. One was building material prices, and the other one was code-compliant construction. So if you think about prefabricated systems, precision framed systems that go out to your job site, one of the key things they do is they control the material, right? If you have a sales guy who does an estimate on the lumber for that house, and he has his own method of doing it, and he does his estimate and he sends it out there, and all of a sudden it's short, well, who's going to provide that material? You guys get stuck with it, right? What this software and what this prefabricated construction technology does for is it ties down those details at the front end. It controls the amount in your estimate, and it controls the amount that you're shipping out, and it controls the process to a large degree to how that job goes up. So in terms of controlling prices, no, it's not going to change lumber prices. I mean, they're going to do what they're going to do, but it does help you control the material on the job site and the waste that goes with it. And then the second issue, code compliant construction, that's a big deal. I mean, I mentioned that the capabilities of the designers that are using the software, those guys, they're very focused on what the local codes are about. They're very focused on how to put this house together right. It's what they do every day. So kind of a refresher on the materials control, you get accurate estimates because of the way that the house is designed at the front end and pre-built. You get purchase orders from your customers that are hopefully a lot more accurate. If you're getting the right purchase orders from them, it becomes, instead of a sore spot for you, it becomes actually a place of reliability in your relationship. The waste and the theft on a job site are way down when you use this sort of an approach because, pretty regular to see 2x4s traveling in the back of a pickup truck to the next job down, right? If it's all tied together in a wall panel, it's all tied together in a truss, people don't usually pick those things up and haul them down the street. So it minimizes a bunch of waste and theft, and that's typically, that's a few points to somebody's bottom line, right off the bat. It also minimizes VPOs, variance purchase orders. That just means that when the framer has his interpretation of how that plan should go together, and he builds it, and then people come out and they go, well, it's not supposed to go together that way. And he said, well, the plans didn't tell me that. Somebody's got to pay for those changes, and it comes out to materials that's shipped. It comes out to the freight that's got to ship it out to there. It comes out to the labor that's got to make those changes. Those things are killing your builder, and they're killing you. They're a source of net loss at the bottom line. So again, it's a place where the materials control helps. The code issue, I just would say that the software, again, because it is so effective in bringing all of the variables together to solve that house in its structural framing to be code compliant and travel and take care of the loads from the ridge line to the foundation, it's an awesome tool for making sure that what goes out there is what should go out there. And the way it gets built is the way it should get built. So bottom line, for your builder, precision framing like this is a great solution. It solves some really key issues for him right off the bat. It reduces his job site labor. It controls the material cost and the waste that happen out there every day. It delivers a code-compliant solution for his house, so he's going to not have as many red tags and problems that come up. And it gives him an opportunity to improve and control his bottom line too. If he knows that what's coming out there in his cost and his estimates is not going to change, he's not going to have to allow an extra 3 or 5% for the variables, it gives him the ability to control it and improve it. He can also build his house a little faster, which is a good thing. I don't want to pass up the opportunity to say that this is also good for your business. We've talked about differentiation in a lot of different ways, but bringing a solution to your builder and changing his process to make him a better builder is not selling him a product. It's selling him a solution, and it's selling him a relationship with you that he looks now to you to take ownership in how his business is operating. And that's a big deal. I mean, the guy down the street probably isn't going to do it like that. It also strengthens that relationship. I mean, if you become a source of reliability for him because you bring him that sort of a solution and he sees the bottom line benefits, it's going to make him come back to you maybe for some other solutions too. So your relationship is one that's built for the long run with that. The accuracy, as I said before, it's good for you. It's good for your builder, but it's also good for you. I mean, you guys end up having a little bit of waste, a little bit of inaccuracy to pay for, reshipments and things like that. I don't know what that turns out to be, but it's got to be a point or two down there someplace. If you can tighten that part up on your business, that's all, that is bottom line profit going right there. Um, there's challenges with this, you know. Nothing's easy, right? So if you're in a stick market, nobody ever uses trusses. If you're in a place where framers refuse to use wall panels, or if you don't have any component manufacturing in your own spot, how are you even going to get started with all this? And there are a lot of different strategies to approach it, but I think, the way we look at it is it kind of boils down to a few things. One is you need to figure out a way to talk with your component manufacturer, whether it's an internal guy and you have that capability, or it's an external company that you're outsourcing this from. You got to sit down with them and talk about that you want to build this in your business to be a bigger part. You want to use it to replace that high margin dimension lumber that you're selling. And make sure that they're lined up with you to support the growth that you're trying to accomplish there. A second thing I think is to find the friendly framers, those guys who are thinking ahead a little bit and understand that if they can build 2 jobs instead of 1, the math works really well for them. And it's worth spending some time to learn how to make it work. The third thing I think is the sales guys. And those guys can be your greatest allies, but they can also be cynical. And it's really important to get a few guys, I think, on the team who understand this opportunity to sell value in a different way. And they're going to be on board with it, and they're going to help you find those guys, those builders, who are the early adopters that are willing to change this and say, okay, I'm going to stop with sticks, I'm going to start with panels, or whatever that might be. But your sales guys obviously are right in the front of those relationships, and they can help you find those builders, identify a few, start with a few, and that's the right way to make it work. I think that it sounds ironic for a marketing guy to say, don't market this. I think, though, that success stories are the best way to make this a known fact in your marketplace, not only with your customers, but internally. In other words, if you get a few builders, you start with this approach, and you have some success stories, and you make it work, what happens right now is your sales team then begins to understand it. They begin to be more proactive about it. They begin to find the builders that really want to make it work. And then builders start telling each other too. I mean, if it works for everybody, it's a really good thing. And those stories travel fast. Okay, so 8% of people that make resolutions actually achieve them. It's not complicated as to how they get that done. But, it's always good to kind of have a formula and a method to make it happen. One is keep it simple, right? So if you're trying to get more healthy, you don't necessarily have to go sign up at the gym, order one of those systems that you get delivered to your home. You don't have to start a new diet, all that. You don't have to do it all at once, Keep it simple for starters. Make it tangible. So if I've got to get healthier, I'm just going to exercise 2 more days a week. It's measurable, it's simple, it's easy, I get it. And make it obvious. This is another part of that deal, that if you put it in front of your wife on the refrigerator, or you tell your friends about it, they're going to help you stay accountable, right? You're going to get it done. And if it comes down to making a change in your market like this, if it's 5 builders in the first quarter, everybody understands the target. Everybody knows that it's something that we're all committed to together, and they make it happen. And the last one, this is research, this is not me, but they say, keep believing you can do it. I think in anything we start, when it's difficult, we're going to go through periods of self-doubt with it. We're going to find times where it just didn't work as smooth as we thought it would. But, if at the bottom line, it's a good thing for your business and it's good for your customers, and it's not rocket science, it's just something that we got to go do, you can make it happen in the business, but you got to stay focused. So my purpose today really is just for all of you who understand what prefabrication is about, to put it together with the fact that there's this business issue and this business opportunity with the builders that is a really big deal with them right now. And if you can find a few guys to make that happen, there's a way for you to change the way people build in a meaningful way. You can do it tomorrow. And it's a great opportunity. I mean, it's important to remember that it's proven. It's not rocket science. And by the way, with the technology being what it is with software, this works for every kind of builder. One of the things that builders think, we learned this in some research that we did recently, was that they think that if you're going to build a custom home, and you got tray ceilings and vaulted ceilings and plant shelving and all that kind of stuff, the only right way to do that is you got to get one of those, custom stick frame guys, those high-priced guys that we're talking about, to get that done. But the truth is, with the technology that's available in the software and the way that this works in automation, you can build some pretty complex structures in a very high-speed environment. And that means that it's affordable to use even these in custom homes. It's something that applies across. It does not distinguish between, the tract house and the custom home. So, find those guys that want to help improve their business and make it happen. I want to leave you as a little bit of inspiration, a success story, and that is a company called Savvy Homes. Savvy Homes they're a top 100 builder out of North Carolina. In 2011, they built 289 houses, and they were having issues because they build in multiple markets. So they were having issues because they want to build this same house in a different market. They ended up with different quality of framers in that market, so they couldn't necessarily count on them. They were having issues with liability and risk. They wanted to minimize that. They had issues of materials control because they were losing a lot of materials on the job site to theft and just to simply misuse and misinterpretation. So in 2012, they decided they want to convert those houses to prefabricated trusses. Right? They weren't using panels, but they wanted to use prefabricated trusses because they felt like that would really help them with that area from the top of the plate line up. And they worked through, a few typical bugs and all that, but they fully converted their business to prefabricated using the 3D structural software that I was talking about. As a result, well, I'm going to let you see what they said about it. This is George Aiken, and he's one of the owners. He said, just with what we are saving in roof framing time, we were able to cut our overall framing time by 50%. With trusses, the complexity of our roofing operations are about 10% of what they were when we were stick framing, to say nothing of what trusses offer us in flexibility, while saving us labor costs, lowering our risk, lowering our waste, and making us a better and more efficient home builder. So that's a success story. You get one of those in your market, and I'll just say from a marketing standpoint, you don't have to worry about it so much. So, my objective today, again, is to just say there's a real relevant opportunity out there with the labor shortage. And for you that are familiar with prefabrication, both kinds, all kinds, this is a great time. There's never been a better time to take that technology, make it work for you, and help to grow your margin, and take some of those products off the right side of the whale and build them on the left side of the whale. So, thanks very much.
Questions? Questions? We're ahead of schedule. Questions?
Yeah.
What was the number one?
Thank you for not forgetting. So the number one weirdest mascot on the list is Sammy the Slug. He's the official mascot of UC Santa Cruz, another California school, of course. Sammy is a representation of the banana slug. It's a yellow mollusk that can be found in the nearby redwood forest. It's said that the laid-back student body of the school disapproved of the fanatical athletic programs at other schools, so they chose a distinctively casual mascot. Of course, we're talking about a campus that's known for smoking pot and streaking across school grounds. In 1992, the UC Santa Cruz Banana Slug was named the top mascot by both the National Directory of College Athletics and Sports Illustrated magazine. I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
Any more questions for Gregg?
Yeah. Thank you. We'll see you, and we're on time, yeah.